Dear colleagues, we'd like to present our study on cancel culture as a discursive event on the use of CDA in social media research. Nowadays, the vast majority of social and communication practices take place in the internet space, in particular in social media. Social media has a high potential to influence public opinion. The discursive nature of this influence is evident. Ordinary users play an active role in discursive processes as technologies enable them to express opinions and assessments as well as to change existing arrangements through various means of communication. The online presence of people is constantly growing. In 2023, 76% of Ukrainians search for information on social media. The dynamics of changes in the structure of media consumption in favor of online information products is positive. The factor of trust in online content also determines its influence, as it allows communicators to create messages that are perceived by users as a guide to action. It's known that the level of trust Ukrainians have in social media news content is higher compared to other media, including traditional ones. Discursive practices in the online environment are directly related to digital activism. Social media allows millions of ordinary people to use online collectivity and a sense of immediacy to demand certain powerful figures to be reportable. The most expressive manifestations of such collective condemnation is cancel culture, in which online activists use social pressures to achieve cultural ostracism of targets, someone or something accused of offensive words or deeds. Cancel culture is implemented on social media and is a way to quickly condemn and punish others without taking into account the full picture of what is happening. Cancel culture is empirically investigated using critical discourse analysis. As empirical material for CDA of cancel culture, we used the Ukrainian linguist and politician Irina Farion's discursive field of canceling, which became known as Farion hate. Irina Farion, known for her radical statements of the language issue, has spoken offensively about the Azov regiment's fighters who don't speak Ukrainian. She voiced her opinions on the 4th of November 2023 in the program Rendezvous with Yanina Sokolova on Channel the 5th. The linguist statements caused a wave of moral outrage in society. We associate the first stage of cancelling with the resonance of the program represented directly by the array of comments under the scandalous video. The second stage showed the expansion of the online reaction, which was reflected in dozens of posts by influencers from the 5th of November to 14th, 2023. These were statements that harassed Irina Farion and called for her cancelling, ranging from dismissal from her job to her physical destruction. On the 14th of November 2023, a student rally took place in Lviv. This is its third meta-discursive stage of cancelling, and on the 15th of November 2023, Irina Farion was dismissed from her position as a professor of the Ukrainian language department at Lviv Polytechnic National University. So, two discursive waves of public outcry correspond to the three stages of cancelling, as evidenced by Google Trends. In order to study Farion hate as a network communication phenomenon, we supplemented the method of critical discourse analysis by the methodological guidelines of Martin and White's appraisal theory. The purpose of CDA is to explicate discourses that support certain public initiatives, challenge the status quo, and influence social relations. Due to the text plus comments format, a recipient enters into a field of discursive tension between different voices of judgment. The communication structure created by the comments guides other users' perceptions of the object of cancelling. Martin and White's appraisal theory appeals to a tradition in which all statements are perceived as a certain position or attitude. This evaluation model is based on three components: attitude, engagement, and graduation. It allows us to trace how communicators gather the public around their values in the polyphonic space of the network by actualizing their topical statement. We focus on those components of the model that characterize the attitude toward the object of canceling. Attitude, in particular, affect, appreciation, and judgment identify the evaluative and emotional reactions of users through their relevant makers. Engagement reflects the resources of dialogistic positioning of online discourses. Monogloss, heterogloss categories allow us to access the level of opposition solidarity of commentators in the network. The category of graduation is associated with the mechanisms by which speakers graduate either the strength of their utterance or the focus of the categorization through which semantic meanings are identified. In order to understand the cause of the discursive event of cancel culture, the concept of echo chamber is also important. It denotes the epistemic environment where social media users are confronted with views they share. We put forward the hypothesis that a high level of discursiveness of a media topic causes social changes. Through discursive practices, we have studied how public opinion was mobilized in social media and how the demand for appropriate action was articulated to decision makers. Using the Martin and White's evaluation model, we have analyzed the array of comments under the original video Rendezvous with Yanina Sokolova posted on YouTube by Channel the 5th. Out of 7,102 comments, we identified those directly related to the object of canceling, Irina Farion, and narrowed down the dataset to the first 520 comments to capture the initial reaction to the canceling trigger. The analysis shows that affects dominate the array of comments divided into positive 30% and negative 70%. The negative comments represent manifestations of public shame and social alienation inherent in the canceling discourse practices. The use of demeaning and offensive language demonstrates the commentator's attitude toward the object of ostracism. The discourse of the comments demonstrates polyphony in almost every expression. 95% of the comments form branches where the majority neutralizes the minority discursively. Defenders of Farion's position are condemned. The dominance of the effective component over judgment is characteristic of the initial stage of canceling wave. The quantitative analysis based on the engagement category, which reflects the discursive potential of interaction among commentators, indicates a very low level of intersubjectivity in the comments. Heteroglossia in the analyzed expressions amounts to 12%, while monoglossia is correspondingly at 88%. Heteroglossia comments are accompanied by modal growths or indicate the commenter's willingness to accept the fact of other voices. Monoglossia comments are characterized by categorical language. In the monoglossic system, the declaim indicator is prominent 70%. It reflects the subject rejection of the main statement. In contrast, the proclaim indicator records acknowledgement and agreement. In the common threads with the pronounced disclaim indicator, we observe the processes of radicalization of the expressed position, which is a typical discursive manifestations of echo chamber. We narrow down the graduation category to the fourth subsystem, which in turn is associated with the characteristic of contextuality of the discursive field of comments. In the array of comments, we find appeals to broader topics of history, education, and culture. The reception intertextuality, which shows the multidimensionality of the topic raised in the primary post, reaches 62%. The second stage of canceling is characterized by quantitative dynamics. A series of critical posts appear on social media, the modality of expressions intensifies, the position of those who interact with like-minded people in the online space is strengthened, and the echo chamber mechanism works. Key communicators of the Ukrainian network space reacted to Irina Farion's negative statements. For example, an ombudsman Dmytro Lubinets, a deputy commander of the 3rd Separate Assault Brigade Maxim Zhorin, a defender of Azovstal Katerina Polishchuk-Ptashka, a journalist Vahtan Kipiani, a boxer Alexander Usyk, and many others. The resonance of the statements of these communicators far exceeds the average resonance of their posts. Applying Martin and White's evaluation model, we have identified the discursive features of the first 500 comments under the post reaction to the Farion hate on the Telegram channel joined Tretya Shturmova. In the category of attitude, we observe a significant predominance of statements corresponding to the affect system 98%, with very low expression of judgment 2%, and no expression of appreciation 0%. 99% of emotional exclamations are negatively connotated and contain signs of cyberbullying towards Irina Farion. The categorical nature of the comments is also evidenced by the very low level of heteroglossia, 3%. Only a few statements indicate the willingness of commentators to consider the presence of other voices. At the same time, the monogloss indicator has a high level of expression of disclaim, 80%, which directly indicates the process of canceling the individual. The fourth subsystem of the graduation category shows a high level of interactivity, 75%. Commentators predominantly appeal to historical and cultural facts to support their position. So, CDA illustrated the fact that social media is a communicative structure that causes social change. Network activism has a discursive nature as it influences decision-making institutions through statements that gather solidarity recipients. CDA, supplemented by appraisal theory, allowed us to observe social pressure in the discursive field of social media through the high level of the effect indicator with the simultaneous low expression of judgment and appreciation indicators. CDA of comments also showed how the communication structure of canceling polarizes users, radicalizes the assessment, and controls the reception of the canceling object. Thank you very much for your attention.